Hi and welcome. Today we are working on agility, and this is not one genre specific. So whether you are a pop, R&B, or even a classical singer, the exercises we do will help you with agility for any genre. If you're new here, I'm Camille. Let's make sure we're just firing in all cylinders. I see Mike is working, so I think we're good to go. If you're new here, I'm Camille with 30 Day singer and voice teacher. And let me just start by letting you know this is an hour-long lesson. The last 15 minutes are reserved just for Q&A, but I do encourage you to ask questions as we go. So about agility, before we jump into all the exercises, there's going to be a ton of exercises today, but just a few tips kind of generally. Um, with your agility training, it's very, very important that you only go as fast as your voice can with good intonation. So let's say, for example, I just realized I do need my headphones. Let's say, for example, we're singing a pattern that goes like this. Ooh, that's just a major scale walking down. Ooh. Now, if I'm trying to sing this quickly, but I lose distinction between pitches, ooh, I need to slow down. So, being able to recognize that in yourself is really, really important. Be honest with where you're at because it doesn't do you any good to push for a faster tempo before you're ready. That said, you do need to push yourself to go just a little bit faster than you're currently comfortable with. So, this is kind of the paradox. We want to sing cleanly and accurately with good intonation, but in order to improve our agility, we do have to push ourselves to sing just a tad faster than we currently can. Otherwise, we're going to stay at a slow, comfortable speed forever, right? It's just logical. Hi, Lady K, and hi, Nick. Great to have you guys here. So that's principle number one, is knowing where you're at, um, staying at a slower speed as long as you really need to, all the while pushing yourself bit by bit to go just a tad faster than you're currently comfortable with to get outside of your current comfort zone. Okay, so this will be in three sections. First, we're going to do some narrow range patterns. So we will not cover a super wide range. We'll probably stick to like about a 5-tone scale for the first set of patterns. Second chunk of exercises will be wider range. So we'll go full major scale, maybe even a little bit past. And then last section, we'll do some leaps. And hey, so good to have you all here. Thank you so much for being here live. And again, you are welcome to ask questions. Just know that the last 15 minutes are just Q&A. Okay, our first narrow range pattern, we're going to start either here, that's G4, or G3, an octave lower. So generally, altos and sopranos, you should be with me in the higher octave. Tenors, baritones, and basses, you'll be one octave lower. However, tenors, you might want to join me at times if it gets a little bit too low for you. So starting off, we're going to sing ooh, ooh, ooh. Again, that's ooh, ooh, ooh. You could also sing on he. We're going to take it at a nice easy speed or tempo to start, and then we'll do a fast version as well if you want a little bit of a challenge. The reason we're starting staccato, the short and detached is to get our vocal folds moving quickly, making contact, and hopefully setting them up well to not slide in between pitches. Okay, so again, here we are. Or he. And as with any exercise, we're going to move up and down from there. So we started here. Then you're going to hear and you're gonna do the same thing, just a little bit higher. Okay. All right. Starting right here, G4 or G3. This will be our tempo. Woo, woo, woo. 1, 2, ready and sing. Woo, woo, woo. Walking down. Woo, woo, woo. 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 Let's walk back up. So low voices, altos, baritones, and basses, you're happy down here, I know. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But we're going to walk back up now. So if you fell off the train, that's okay. Jump back on with me right here, starting on C4 or C3. And when I give you those pitches, my intention is that if you're unsure whether you're matching pitch or not, that you use a chromatic tuner to make sure. And the easiest one to access, because it's just a website, would be tuner.ninja. And Smiley, if you can give me a specific timestamp for a riff or run from a position, I would love to help you with that. And no, this does not cost money. You're here for free. Everything on our YouTube channel is free. Okay, so here we go. Nick is happy down here. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We're walking back up. Please use whatever vowel you like. So if oo or e does not work well for you, use a different one. Here we go. 1, 2, ready and go. Walking up. Keep going. At any point, you can be dropping down or up the octave. So high voices, if you're like, ooh, I'm not comfortable here, ooh, you could jump down the octave. Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, ready and sing. Last one. All right. Who wants a challenge? I'm going to go just a little bit faster. I will not play on the piano this time because I can sing faster than I can play. So I'll guide you through. Ela or Ella is asking, where should the sound come from? All of our sound is produced by air or breath passing through the vocal folds. The vocal folds are within your larynx. If you find a little bump in front of your throat, that is part of your larynx. That's your cartilage. And your vocal folds are housed inside. They're protected by the larynx. That's right above your trachea. And Nick is asking, was that A major? Yeah, what a good ear. Nice. So all of the sound that we make is produced by air passing through those vocal folds. Your vocal folds vibrate together and then they travel. The sound wave travels out through your throat and mouth and into the world. Where you feel sensation, though, that's a different thing. So where the sound is actually produced, that doesn't change. But where you might feel sensation as you're traveling throughout your range, that is likely to change. So if you're just speaking, a lot of people will feel strong vibration on their chest, and that's why we call the lower part of our voice chest voice. Hey, hello, ha. As you get higher and your vocal folds are thinner and longer, you might not feel that sensation in your chest anymore. You might feel more in your head, or you might feel less sensation overall. And Shelly, that is okay. No worries. We're all at different places in our journey. I do encourage you to look at the other lessons on the site. There's a lesson, I think it's like your very first voice lesson or something like that. So one of those might be a good fit for you. But today our focus is agility. As long as you are following along, you're doing great. We're going to go a little bit faster here. Hee, hee, hee. If you're ready for a challenge, you're starting here or here. 1, 2, ready, go. Hee, hee, hee. 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 Same thing, we're gonna walk back up. If you're like, this is too low, we're walking back up now, starting right here. Awesome, Lady K, I'm so glad to hear that. 1, 2, ready, go. Hee, hee, hee. 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 By the way, you have 2 options to make these exercises easier in the moment. Of course, an option is to slow it down, but you can't slow down a live video. You can slow down any other video. But one way to make this a little bit easier on yourself is to add a consonant. Dee, 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 or me, 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 me. I would say me is probably not the best, but something where your tongue is doing the articulation. Dee, 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 or lee, 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 lee. Even an H would work. Hee, 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 hee. What that does is gives you a clean start for each specific pitch. So that's one way to make your job a little bit easier in the moment. Another way is to use something semi-closed. So something like a hum. Some singers will find it easier to move quickly on something semi-closed like that. Okay, next pattern. So we started staccato there, and then we ended legato. If you don't know those terms, you don't need to. It's all good. Staccato just means short and detached. Legato means smooth and connected. So our next exercise will incorporate both staccato and legato articulation. So here's our next exercise. Starting right here, we're gonna sing hoo 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 hoo. So we're jumping around a little bit instead of just walking down the stairs. Here again, short and detached at first. Hoo 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 hoo. All right, different kind of agility needed to jump around like that. Again, just getting used to this pattern first. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Breathe. Hoo. Again. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Hoo. All right. It's only 3 pitches. Doot, doot, doot. Or high, medium, low. Ella or Ela, why do I have a hard time moving from a low pitch to a high pitch, and how can I work on that? Typically, moving from a low pitch to a high pitch or vice versa is difficult because they require different coordination of the vocal folds. And in general, your voice kind of likes to be in one mode. It kind of likes to be in speaking voice mode or head voice mode. It doesn't really like, at first, it doesn't really like going back and forth between the two. So I would say for you, what would really help is incorporating some slides or sirens that take you from low to high and back again on something that feels easy for you. For most singers, something like an ooh is going to feel pretty easy. The reason being, ooh helps you find your head voice coordination. So if you're singing, for example, ooh, that's going to be a lot easier than ah. That might pull chest voice and cause you to shout and eventually crack. So I would say start with that. Low, high, low on an ooh vowel, siren slide. So you're starting to build that coordination. Okay, back to our exercise. Do you remember it? Hoo, 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 hoo. 1, 2, ready, go. Hoo, 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 hoo. Walking down. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hoo, hoo, last one. Walking up. Keep going. Remember the options that you have before we jump back in. If this is moving too fast for you, sing doo 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 doo. If you are sliding between pitches, ooh, and not distinctly singing, ooh, add a consonant, add an H. Ooh, 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 ooh. I promise that will help you make progress toward this goal quicker than just struggling through singing kind of sloppily and hoping that it gets cleaner. Um, and Smiley, I agree. You can always change the key. So perfect. That's probably a great song for an alto or a tenor. Like a low alto or a tenor. If you're a higher voice like a soprano or a mezzo, I know it starts on an E flat 3. I found a love, and that is simply, it's most likely not going to be comfortable for a high voice to sing that low. Um, so if you search perfect karaoke higher key, I know there's going to be plenty of options there. Try one out or try them out until you find one that feels like a better fit. And if you can't find one that feels like a better fit, you can download the karaoke track and pitch shift it yourself. I have videos on this channel about how to find a good key for your voice and how to change the key of a song. So if you just search, you can find that. Otherwise, I can find it for you. Okay, last exercise in this narrow range is going to be a 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that sounded complicated, but it's really not. You're just walking up a 5-tone scale one step at a time. So at first, 1, then 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3. You get it. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we're returning to the key of A for Nick because it puts a smile on his face. Sing on anything. Sing on do 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 or ooh ooh ooh. The hardest thing to do is going to be just singing on an open vowel. So if you want to challenge, do that. But if you're not ready for it, add a consonant. I'm going to take a drink of water before we go on. Practice that pattern by yourself. And Lady K is asking, yes, absolutely, I get stage fright. Um, I think most people do. I think I can't say that all performers get stage fright, but I think the vast majority do. Um, and they find different ways to cope. And the more that they do it, the easier it becomes to utilize those coping strategies and to know that they're going to work. But I'm trying to think if I think I do have some videos on confidence and nerves. So I would check those out because that would be a more complete answer than what I can give right now. Um, let's return to that at the end of the lesson if you're still here. Let me also find a blog post for you that I wrote. So this is building confidence as a singer. And here's 4 steps to build your confidence. There you go. Um, yeah, a lot of the advice that you'll get has to do with calming your body, um, and in so doing, calming your mind. Um, a lot of the advice that we often give is teaching your body, to instead of being in fight, flight, or freeze mode, which is what we're in when we're experiencing stage fright and stress and performance anxiety, um, we'll do a few things to trigger that rest digest mode in our body, parasympathetic nervous system rather than the sympathetic nervous system. A few practical ways to do that. One is deep breathing, visualization, the Valsalva maneuver, which is where you plug your nose and exhale, like you're clearing your eustachian tube or popping your ears, so to speak. What are some other ones? Um, doing like box breathing to build up a little bit of carbon dioxide. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, or inhale for 4, exhale for 8. That helps to slow your heart rate down because, again, when we're nervous, when we have stage fright, usually our heart is pounding. Usually we're taking shallow breaths. So all of these things I just mentioned help to get us into more of that rest and digest mode. Um, and deep, slow breathing is also good for our singing. So it works double duty. So I would say there are some practical things, like I just mentioned. That article and the video that I linked for you in the chat, or in the comment section, provides a little bit more of the kind of psychological side of things. And I think it is helpful to know that most people do experience stage fright. It's not a normal thing to sing in front of other people. When it's not a part of your daily life. It's something out of the norm. So it's very normal then for you to be feeling nervous. Okay. So we had a new pattern. If you've practiced it, if you forgot it, remember it's do 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 do, or 1 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5. Are you ready? 1 2, ready, sing. Ooh, 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 walking down. Ooh, walking back up. And remember, if this is going too fast, you can sing do, 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 or hoo, 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 hoo. I would say in terms of difficulty level, do, do, do is going to be the easiest. Hoo, hoo, hoo will be second easiest. And then hoo, hoo, without the H is going to be the hardest. Okay, we'll go through this and then talk about tour and keeping up with your voice while on tour in just a second. 2, ready, and go. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, ooh, sorry for that face. I don't think I hit a right note on the piano. Shelly, add a consonant. I promise it'll be way, way easier. 1, 2, ready, and go. Okay, I'm getting more than one comment that this is too fast. Let's jump back in a little bit slower. Ready, and go. Is this better? Good. Walk down. Low voices, I hope you can still hear on the piano. I am playing in the lower octave. So if you're like, I can't sing that high, you don't need to. You might be here. You might be here. Okay, so it's either D4 or D3 there. Almost sounds the same, just we're in a different octave. And Curious Fox, I registered your question. You were talking about auditioning for something. So we're gonna finish this exercise and then get to questions. 2, ready, and sing. Okay. Unfortunately, you can't adjust the speed of a live video. Although, thank you for letting me know that was too fast. I do appreciate that. But the great thing is, you can adjust the playback speed of any other video that you watch on YouTube. So it's going to be settings gear, settings, playback speed, custom. For any lesson video or riff or run that you're trying to slow down, that's how you do it on the bottom of the video. Settings gear, playback speed, custom. Because I think the default is like regular speed and then 75% and then 50%. And that's just way, way too slow typically. Okay, so there were 2 questions, one from Curious Fox. I'm planning to go for Nigerian Idol by December. What do I need to keep in mind, please? So I will be honest with you. I have not had that experience of auditioning for for shows like that. Um, so I cannot speak from experience in terms of how that day is going to go and exactly what to expect. However, I would say first thing to keep in mind is that any singing competition show, it's not just a singing competition show. The producers have certain stories that they want to promote. They have they're casting, really. I know we don't think of it that way. We think of it just as a reality show, but they are casting. And so if you do not get selected, please don't make the assumption that there was something wrong with you or your voice, because I know so many wildly talented singers who are rejected from shows like this simply because maybe they already had enough people with their look or their voice or their story. Um, and what's more, any one person's opinion of your voice is you got to take that with a grain of salt. So I would say go into it with that mindset that it really doesn't mean anything if you aren't selected. Um, and beyond that, a little bit more practically, as you're rehearsing, I would set aside some time not just to rehearse what you're singing, but also rehearse mentally. Um, Kind of envision what you expect that day to look like, how many people are going to be in the room, what kind of mental state you're going to be in. Because if all you're doing is practicing from the comfort of your bedroom, and then you go and you're waiting in line all day and you're singing in front of producers and in front of the judges, that's just a totally different emotional and mental state for you to be in. So the more that you can prepare for that in your rehearsal time, the better. The better prepared your brain and body are going to be for the actual situation at hand. Um, and beyond that, I mean, you probably already know practice makes permanent. That the more thoroughly you're practicing, the typically the better you're going to do on the day, because it's become a little bit routine, kind of muscle memory. You don't have to worry about the notes or the riff, whatever. You should be able to feel like you can sing that audition song in your sleep. That way you can focus on the storytelling and the performance rather than worrying about any technical aspects of the song. And have fun, connect to the story, remember why you're there. You're there to communicate and to have a fun performance in the room. It's not your job to worry about the casting. It's not your job to worry about what decisions ultimately get made. You're not in control of that. All you're in control of is what happens in that room. And so I just encourage you to make it a fun experience for yourself and enjoy it as much as possible. Okay. And then on tour, how do you keep up with your voice while on tour? I think the biggest thing is vocal rest. That can be quite demanding. And what's more, when you're on tour, your sleep might not be as good and consistent as when you're home. If you are traveling a lot, you might be a little bit dehydrated, especially if you're on a plane at any point or, in a vehicle with air conditioning. So I would say rest, adequate vocal rest, anytime that you can, hydration, and cooling down as well. Cooling down after any show or rehearsal. Okay, my friends, let us let us jump back in. Pete is asking for directions to Carnegie Hall, and Pete, I think Google Maps is gonna tell you that answer better than I can. Okay, moving on to wide range patterns. I'm gonna start with just a descending major scale. But we're going to start staccato, if you remember what that means, short and detached, and then legato. We're singing, ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. Take a breath. Ooh, you are starting here with me or here 1 octave lower. You're singing on any vowel that's comfortable. If no vowel is comfortable, you're adding a consonant. Do, 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 do. If that also doesn't work, you can sing on a hum or something like that. Okay. And then we have a question about memorizing a song before singing it at 11 a.m. tomorrow. We are down to the wire here. Condensing the memorization process, I would say the best thing to do would be to record yourself singing it. So I would tell this to your student, record yourself singing it and practice with that recording. Give yourself vocal breaks so that you're not just singing this over and over and over. So maybe you sing it one time, you listen to the recording and just mentally rehearse. You maybe mouth the lyrics another time. You can practice your performance and storytelling without actually vocalizing that way. That's probably it. That's what I would do if I was really in a time crunch. And as much as possible, be practicing in performance mode so that you can so that you're no longer in like practice session mode, if that makes sense. Since you're so close to the performance. Are we ready? You're starting here or here. Staccato, short and detached. Ooh, 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 ooh. Then breathe. Ooh. 1, 2, ready and sing. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh. Walking down. Ooh, 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 ooh. Stopping right there. So that was a not too fast tempo, I hope. The whole purpose of starting staccato is so you're giving your vocal folds a chance to come together at each specific pitch, and then you're having them come together, come together and shorten in this case, but stay together. That's to help fix the most common issue that beginners have, and that is losing distinction between pitches. Ooh. Okay, where did we leave off? There. Okay, I will slow down. Yes. Best warm-ups depends on what you are about to do. I can tell you what my favorite ones are. My favorite warm-ups are something semi-occluded, and yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's Dancing Machine. Thank you. And instead of me just going through warm-ups, I would go anything on the channel is a warm-up I like. So you can see warm-ups for different voice ranges as well. So soprano, mezzo, alto, that might be a good fit for you. So we're going to slow down as per Nick's request. Ooh, 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 ooh. And then ooh. 1, 2, ready and go. Ooh, 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 ooh. Walking up. Ooh, 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 ooh. Before we go on, Alice asked a really good question. For the staccato, no, you do not need to pulse with your belly for those. Excellent question. So just those vocal folds coming together. That's all we need. Could you pulse with your belly? Yeah. Um, but since the very next thing we do will not include that belly pulse, I would say just isolating that vocal fold function is perfectly good. Where were we? Okay, we were right there. Awesome. Nick, I'm glad. Just a few more. 1, 2, ready, and go. Breathe. Last one. All right. By the way, I thought of this and I thought it's good to share. Um, if you are the type of person who wants to lead yourself through a warm up, and you can't find like the exact collection of videos that you want, once you know the warm up pattern, all you need is just a source for the pitches to get your starting pitch. So I know I'm playing more than that. I'm playing a full chord and then I'm playing some of your pitches. But if you're pretty confident that you know the pattern and you can sing it accurately, all you would need is just a piano app to get your starting note. So let's say you're here. Ooh, then you would play the very next key higher or lower on the keyboard. Ooh, ooh, and so on. Just thought I would throw that out there because I know we have some experienced singers in the chat. So if that's you and you're like, "Ooh, I like some of these exercises. I'd like to use them, but I, you know, don't want to be like going through an hour long video to do so." Just know that's really the only tool that you would need would be some source for just your starting pitch. A piano app would be a good one. Okay. And got someone I got to block. Okay. You can let me know if that person is gone. Hopefully they are. I just removed them from the channel. Little spammy. Okay. I kind of ran out of time for our big leaps. That took longer than I thought it would. So I think we may have to do a part 2 for this agility exercise video. It is time for Q&A. So get those questions in. We're here. We're answering questions now. So starting with Smiley, I used to do your exercises all the time. I haven't done it for a month now, and now I feel that my voice is very bad. Smiley, the good thing is you're not starting from scratch. Like with any other skill, even if you take a break and you come back to it, you're not starting from ground zero again. I have many songs to cover. Which exercises do you think I should do so that I can cover my songs sooner? I don't think you need to worry about a specific type of exercise. I think just consistency is going to be the thing for you. So, what you were doing before, maybe you can't jump straight away into that intensity or duration. But I would say whatever you were doing before that was working, that you kind of ramp yourself up to that. And as long as you're singing every day, I think you'll be making progress in no time. If you feel like your voice is struggling to keep up with those demands, then I would start with gentle things. So think semi occluded, narrow vowels. If you search for gentle singing warm up, there's one on the channel that you might enjoy during this time when you're getting back into the swing of things. And to clarify, Pisanash was saying, do not use your throat too much. It will strain your voice. So we are always singing from our throat. I know that doesn't sound right because you'll hear oftentimes, don't sing from your throat. But the reality is there, our vocal folds are coming together really, really quickly. So that's not a problem. That should not cause any issue for you. When we say don't sing from the throat, what we mean is we don't want to feel like our effort is coming from our throat. We don't want to be feeling pain in our throat. Shelly or Chelly, for what is a vocal break good? So if you have a break, hey, hey, that's one thing that a vocal break is good for. It's a stylistic effect called a pop flip, falsetto flip, or a yodel. Really, that's all kind of doing the same thing. It's going over your break, it's an abrupt register shift. So that's one thing it's good for. I would say the other thing a vocal break is good for, if that's what you're talking about, by the way, I don't know if I understood you correctly, but I'm just going to keep going. You can correct me though in the chat. Because you also could mean like taking a break from singing. But anyways, if you're talking about the vocal break, like abrupt register shift, the other thing that's good for is protecting your voice. When you're singing higher and your voice is sensing that there's too much intensity and it cannot stay in whatever intense mode you were in, that's typically how it responds is saying, "Ooh, this is too much pressure. I'm going to let go and flip into head voice," for example. And that's your voice protecting itself. So that's also not a bad thing. Pete's asking, when singing, are tension and strain identified as the same thing? Ooh, that is a really good question. I would say no. Um, it, usually, let me walk it back. Usually, yes. When people say tension, they mean excess tension, and excess tension is what I would define strain as. However, tension is necessary. Your muscles are working. Your vocal folds are under tension. They're one of my favorite voice teachers, John Henney, he often says tension-free singing is silence, or it's just air passing through. Oh yes, Battle of the Peats. So I hope that answers your question. My personal answer is excess tension and strain. I would use those interchangeably. But to have the goal of tension-free singing, it sounds good. Practically, it's not actually possible, because we do have tension in the instrument. What we want to avoid is that feeling of pain, tightness, squeeze. Yeah. So we're asking something about timing, and I didn't quite catch it. Figuring out the rhythm and timing of that specific exercise we just did. So the exercise we ended on, 2, 3, 4. So it's if this helps, 1, a 1 and a 2 and a 3, if that helps you. So 8th note, 2/16, 1 and then 4/16, 2 and then 3, and then you're breathing on 4. and a 2E and a 3, 4. Um, how to sing with a breathy tone. Sure. So you already know how to speak with a breathy tone. Um, so you can speak with a little bit more air passing through. It's the same function when you're singing. So you can sing ha or ha, ha. You can vary the level of breathiness in the same way that you do with your speaking voice. So one kind of not a warm up, but an exercise you can do is varying your level of breathiness or air passing through just in your speech. So saying hello really strongly and then a little bit softer, hello, and then a little bit more airy, hello, 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 until you're whispering. And then kind of doing the same thing on pitch. Hello, 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 hello. And kind of stopping where you feel like, oh yeah, that's the sound that I want. Um, what about taking a vocal break? Is it good or bad? And when does someone need to take a break? Yeah. So vocal pacing or vocal rest, um, it's always good. I would say if you're talking about a prolonged break, that's probably only necessary if you are sick or if you've used your voice quite a lot and are feeling fatigued. But vocal pacing is something I use every day because I'm teaching students online and using my voice quite a lot. So in between lessons, I'm silent. I'm not talking on the phone. I'm not really singing too much in between lessons. I don't teach every day, so on those days, I can usually sing as much as I want to, but as with any muscle, I know your voice isn't just one muscle, but uh, as with any muscle, you need rest. If we don't give our voice adequate rest, then we usually get more swelling. That swelling can be problematic. So, uh, yeah. And then about taking a more prolonged break, again, I would only consider that if you are sick or experiencing symptoms that are telling you, I need rest. Symptoms would be pain, hoarseness, things like that, loss of range. Okay. Asking about riffs, Joshua Bassett. Um, so if you can be even more specific with that question, I'd love to help. But I would say my general advice for breaking down a riff from another artist, learning a riff from another artist is always to slow it down. And if you can, if since you mentioned you are also a voice teacher, if you can figure out what those pitches are or where it is in the scale, that would be really helpful so that you understand the pattern. Break it into different sections, isolate those sections. So don't worry about doing the whole riff in one go. Break it into different chunks and just work on the first chunk, the second chunk, and then start putting it together. But that would be my general advice. What happens if you lose your voice? Typically, that means either the vocal folds themselves or your entire larynx, like when you have laryngitis and maybe lose your voice, is swollen. Um, typically, that's what's happening. Um, so when your vocal folds are swollen, they are not functioning as they normally do, being able to vibrate together on the thin edge. And again, if you're experiencing that, vocal rest first. And then if it persists, call your doctor. But if it's something that was due to illness, if you're still sick, um, you might not have to call your doctor right away if you know, okay, I lost my voice because I have laryngitis. I don't need to worry about it from a vocal health perspective. The general rule of thumb is if you're experiencing symptoms like pain, hoarseness, loss of range, um, inability to sing quietly or sing high in head voice, um, then for 2 weeks or longer, then you go get seen. How to keep what clean? And by clean, what do you mean? Do you mean riffs? Like how to have those pitches be distinct from one another? And then how does chest voice work? Can I sing a high note with chest voice? Depends on how high that note is, because chest voice does have a bit of a ceiling on it. So the way that chest voice works, it's really just your speaking voice function. Um, the muscles within the vocal folds themselves are more dominant. In chest voice and in speaking voice, your vocal folds are shorter and they're thicker. So you typically singing higher in chest voice, you're getting louder. It's a more intense sound. Your mouth is opening wider as well. And most of us have experienced that that does not work forever. So, depending on exactly how high that pitch is, it might need to be in head voice or a mix rather than just pure chest or speaking voice. Um, and Chrissy, so it depends on the voice type as well. Depends on the instrument we're working with. So typically for a higher voice like a soprano, mezzo, alto, that transition into mix from chest voice starts to happen around A flat 4, and the transition into mix from for lower voices typically starts to happen somewhere around E flat 4, maybe a little bit lower or higher depending on your voice. But yeah, the point is your chest voice function, even if it sounds really, really loud and impressive, your like say pure speaking voice does not last forever. Um, For high notes, how to access head voice versus chest voice. Again, it's going to depend on how high the pitch is. But I would say the easiest way to access a specific mode or register is knowing what vowels or sounds help you in that zone. So, example would be chest voice usually is going to be easier to access on a wider vowel, something with a little bit of emotional intensity, something a little bit louder like hey. Whereas accessing a high pitch in head voice, you would have an easier time at a lower volume and a narrower vowel. Woo, woo, something like that. So understanding vowels and which vowels are good in what range. That's how I would start. Whew. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. As our time wraps up, I don't know lie, actually, but I would see what other uh, what other videos that we do have on belting. Depends on how high that pitch is in lie. I'm not sure. But my friends, I'm going to let you go. Next week, let me tell you what we're going to be doing together. And thank you so much for being here live. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate it. You make it so much more fun. If I was just talking to myself, would not be very fun. Next week, Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific. And what are we going to do? Ooh, pop riffs for beginners. That'll be fun. So easy major and pentatonic riff patterns, pulses, bends, good stuff. I'm excited about that. I will see you then. and have a good rest of your day. Bye. Actually, not bye. Okay, bye for real.